Alright y'all, welcome back to part 2 of my kayak build. In the last episode we mounted the motor. Today we're going to make it to where you can steer the motor. To do this, we're going to rig together a system of pulleys with 2 pedals up on the front to steer the boat with your feet so you can dedicate your hands to fishing. The materials you're going to need for this part of the build: something to use for a pedal. I picked these wood blocks because they're already cut out to the right size that I need, plus I like the way they look. You're going to need some hinges to work with the pedal, some little screws to mount the pedals to the kayak. This hinge pack came with all the screws that you need to do that. You're going to need some cord to connect the pedals to the motor to let it turn. I chose this braided nylon paracord because it has enough play in it to where it doesn't create too much tension on the strings. You don't have to worry about it breaking. But it also has enough tension to where you could use both pedals to steer either direction. You're going to need a couple of these pulleys so you could get around the harsh right angle at the back of the boat without snapping the cord. You're going to need 7 of these circle hooks to guide the cord as it goes down the side of the boat and keep it from getting wrapped up in you and your gear. Some 1/2-inch screws for mounting the pulleys. A handsaw to adjust your wood blocks. The drill bits you need, the power drill, and a screwdriver. Alright, so you're going to want to get your pulleys and mount them to the bottom of the 2x4, and just like we did when we were putting the screws in the frame, you're going to want to drill a pilot hole and then run your screw through it to securely mount the pulley. For this pulley I used 2 screws. It's plenty sturdy enough, there's not going to be that much tension on this pulley. Alright, so after you have your pulley securely mounted on the boat, you're going to want to measure out on your motor shaft where you want your circle hook to be mounted. It's going to want to be high enough to where it doesn't have any awkward angle from the cord going across the pulley, but not so high that it hits the motor mount when you go to turn the boat. So after you know how high you want to measure it or want to mount it, you just drill a hole through the motor shaft and then insert the hook. And the hook just screws into place. Something to take note of when you're mounting the circle hook is that there are cords that run down from the top of the motor control into the actual motor. So after you have this hook connected, you're going to want to test the motor to make sure you didn't damage those wires. To help avoid hitting the wires when you're putting the circle hook through the motor shaft, one thing you could do is get a step-up drill bit like this. This particular drill bit, the smallest step on it happens to be the right size for the circle hooks we're using, and it doesn't drill far enough to actually hit the wires. So then when you're screwing this in slowly, it will push the wires out of the way without damaging them. So the next thing you're going to want to do is figure out where you're mounting the circle hooks on the side of the boat so that you have a channel to run your cord through. The goal here is to keep these spaced far enough apart that you're not drilling 20 holes in your boat, but also keep them close enough together that they correctly guide the wire around the side of your boat. You're wanting to keep the wires low enough to where they're not interfering with what you're doing on top of the kayak, but not so low that the hole is in the water and potentially letting water seep into the inside of your boat. Alright, so after you have your holes drilled where you want them to be, just like you did on the motor shaft, you're just going to screw your circle hooks into the hole. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is prepare the pedals to get them ready to mount to the boat. If you notice with this particular hinge, going one way, it closes completely flat, and the other way, it opens to a 90-degree angle. So if you use that properly, you could get it to where your pedal will be able to go all the way flat to get the most range out of your left and right turning. So to get this properly lined up, you open the hinge up to a 90-degree angle, get it lined up on the edge of the plank, and then you'll just drill your 3 pilot holes just like you have previously, and then mount your screws. Alright, so this next part is arguably one of the most important steps in this whole build, because this will make you perfectly comfortable and able to fish happily, or it could completely ruin the build for you. We need to determine how far forward or back we want to mount the pedal, where you can sit comfortably while you fish. For me, I've been using this kayak. I happen to know that my feet rest on this 3rd foot peg right here. So this is where it's comfortable for me to mount the pedals. With this wood plank, it's cut out so that when I have it lined up on the side of the boat like this, the edge of it still hangs over into the foot area on the boat, so I'd be able to pedal it like normal. Alright, so after you have it lined up where you want your pedal to be, just like before, you're going to drill your 3 pilot holes and then set the screws. So when you're screwing these down and you get towards the end, you want to make sure that you get it tight, but not screw it down so tight that it strips the plastic. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is measure how much of this cord you're going to need to use for this boat. To do that, just get one of the ends of the cord, tie it to this loop, and then turn the motor all the way the other direction as far as it's going to turn, and then run your cord down through each of these loops until it gets to your pedal. From here, you could tell that this is your center point and that both sides of your rope need to be the same length. So you take your center point and make a small knot in it, because that keeps the center. So from there, you're just going to untie it from the loop and use this center loop to pull it out, and then cut off your string to where you have 2 equal lengths of cord on either side. So the next thing we're going to do is mount this cord to the loop and then run the string down and tie it to the pedal so it'll work. So for that, you just feed the loop through, then take both ends of the string, pull it out, and then pull the loop tight on the other loop. Get the side of the string that you're going to want to use for this pedal, run it down through all the circle hooks, and then tie it to the wood block. So now that you have your string run down to your pedal, what you're going to want to do is turn the motor all the way to the other direction. That way, with this pedal all the way back, you know that this is as much string as you're going to need to make this pulley system work without putting too much tension on the pedal. So if you notice on the wood block, I have these 2 notches cut along the corner. That's going to securely hold the string in place and prevent it from slipping off of the wood block. And then you're just going to feed it through and then tie it back around the wood block in a way that prevents it from slipping off of, or from coming untied or slipping off the block. Now, if everything we did works properly, when I press on this pedal, it should turn the motor. and is successful. So now all you got to do is make the other side match that side. Alright, so as you can see, after you have both sides done, you'll be able to turn the motor just by moving the pedals. This has been part 2 of the build, showing you how to make the pedals and how to make them work. If you check back in for part 3, I'm going to be showing you how to move the motor control, relocate it in a place that's going to be more comfortable for you to be able to reach it while you're fishing.